I want to go to him now. He's watching the debate for us so we can have all the fun here. Barry, anything exciting happening in the GOP debate in Charleston, South Carolina?
I would say the biggest event of the night was Trump versus Cruz on U.S. citizenship. And I got to tell you, Cruz picked him up and threw him around the ring like it was a wrestling match staged for a fake audience. It was that lopsided. Ted Cruz should never have been attacked on a constitutional question. He's a constitutional scholar. He worked at the Supreme Court. Honest to gosh, Trump was way out of line and way out of his field. Cruz beat up on him pretty handily.
So the lawyer in Ted Cruz came out, but Americans and especially conservatives aren't all that impressed, Barry, a lot of times with lawyers. And so I'm just curious if you think this actually behooves Ted Cruz, who's trying to look like the guy that goes hunting, gets down dirty in the woods with Phil, and now he's like the fancy pants lawyer. Is that going to carry really with this voting populace?
It's an interesting analysis, Dr. G, and I agree with you. He's trying to be a little bit of everybody for everybody. He is a constitutional scholar. He is a big-time lawyer, and he's an oh-shucks guy from Texas at the same time. I guess it depends on whether or not you believe this is really an issue, which I honestly believe most Americans don't.
So are the gloves off between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz? I know there was talk of being one another's vice presidential picks and so on. But do you think it's time that the gloves have come off? And what do you think that will mean for the potential conservative nominees?
Well, I'll tell you something really cute. Both of them offered the other the vice presidential role tonight, which I thought was rather amusing. Cruz was willing to hire Trump in second place, and Trump turned around and offered the same job to Cruz. You've got to look back a number of years ago when Obama and Clinton went after each other, I mean, literally to the death. And Clinton wins and, Obama wins and turns around and offers Clinton, which she accepted, the role of Secretary of State. So people have a very short memory once they win, and the audience has a short memory of all the horrible things that were said 3 months ago during the primary season.
Seems to me, Barry, like these debates aren't carrying quite the weight that they carried early. Like, there's just not quite the build-up. There's not quite the quoting, because Donald Trump's just been all over the media for everything, and people have learned that the debate's not the only place where they're going to get a big old dose of these personalities. How much do you think this debate actually matters in the minds of voters tonight?
Honestly, at this point, this late in the process, this many people elbowing, scratching, and clawing for 30 seconds on stage with the microphone turned on, I think people are a little bit exhausted at this point. For the same ground constantly, and to be honest with you, I don't think it's selling voters one way or another anymore.
Thanks, Barry. Up next, we're going to check back on the craziness from the GOP debate and check in with Sean Pittman as well about his opinion. Stay with us. Who's monitoring the debate while we are having all the fun. Barry, any more fireworks in that there debate?
We've got the video for you, Dr. Gina, of the vice presidential Olympic offering ceremony between Trump and Cruz and Trump. And I think it's a classic in live political television, where each one wants the other one to be his vice president and made the offer in front of tens of millions of Americans.
All right, let's watch.
My friend Donald said that he had had his lawyers look at this from every which way, and there was no issue there. There was nothing to this birther issue. Now, since September, the Constitution hasn't changed. But the poll numbers have. I recognize that Donald is dismayed that his poll numbers are falling in Iowa. But the facts and the law here are really quite clear. Under long-standing U.S. law, the child of a U.S. citizen born abroad is a natural-born citizen. If a soldier has a child abroad, that child is a natural-born citizen. That's why John McCain, even though he was born in Panama, was eligible to run for president. If an American missionary has a child abroad, that child is a natural-born citizen. That's why George Romney, Mitt's dad, was eligible to run for president even though he was born in Mexico. At the end of the day, the legal issue is quite straightforward, but I would note that the birther theories that Donald has been relying on, some of the more extreme ones insist that you must not only be born on U.S. soil, but have two parents born on U.S. soil. Under that theory, not only would I be disqualified, Marco Rubio would be disqualified, Bobby Jindal would be disqualified. Interestingly enough, Donald J. Trump would be disqualified.
Boom. Barry, that's some lawyerly kinds of fireworks right there. I think Ted Cruz is ready to show America that he's ready for this main debate stage. But what else happened?
Well, the clip we just saw was actually the setup to the vice presidential Olympics. What you just saw was Ted Cruz lecturing Donald Trump on the law, the constitutional law, and Cruz was right, and Trump is really rowing his boat in the wrong direction. Now, based on that previous dust-up, you're now going to see the offering vice presidential Olympics based on the fact that both of them think they're going to finish first and the other guy's going to finish second. As you mentioned earlier, it's very curious, Dr. Gina, whether or not this is going to affect their future relationship or they're going to kiss and make up next week.
All right, so here we go.
First of all, let me just tell you something, and you know because you just saw the numbers yourself. NBC Wall Street Journal just came out with a poll. Headline, Trump way up, Cruz going down. I mean, so you can't, they don't like the Wall Street Journal, they don't like NBC, but I like the poll. And frankly, it just came out. And in Iowa now, as you know, Ted, in the last 3 polls, I'm beating you. So, you shouldn't misrepresent how well you're doing with the polls. You don't have to say that. In fact, until you started doing that, because that's a misrepresentation. Number one. Number two, this isn't me saying it. I don't care. I think I'm going to win fair and square, and I have to win this way. Thank you. Lawrence Tribe and numerous from Harvard, said that there is a serious question as to whether or not Ted can do this, okay? There are other attorneys that feel, and very, very fine constitutional attorneys, that feel that because he was not born on the land, he cannot run for office. Here's the problem. We're running. He does great. I win. I choose him as my vice presidential candidate, and the Democrats sue because we can't take him along for the ride. I don't like that, okay? The fact is, and if for some reason he beats the rest of the field, if for some, see, they don't like that. They don't like that. No, they don't like that he beats the rest of the field because they want me. But if for some reason, Neil, he beats the rest of the field, I already know the Democrats are going to be bringing a suit. You have a big lawsuit over your head.
All right, I want to watch this whole thing, but we're going to cut back to Barry because I just because of time. But Barry, this was some fun fireworks. Did you get the feeling that at least Donald Trump is having a blast? And I feel like Ted Cruz was right in his element, too. And I really don't think that this interchange between them hurt either of them. But what do you say?
Well, the missing ingredient, which I think is going to stick to Trump on this, is he anchored his argument to a legal scholar named Lawrence Tribe from Harvard, who happens to be Al Gore's lawyer in the big lawsuit over the Olympics.
Yeah, Barry, but that's weed stuff that only wonks like us know. I think it looked like he was having a good time. He may have been rowing his boat the wrong direction, but it was a big fancy boat and he was having fun in it. I don't think he was rowing. I actually think he might have had people rowing for him.
It's not going to sink either one of them. It became a non-issue. I don't think you're going to hear citizenship regarding Cruz ever again.
Barry, thank you so much for being with us and for your great coverage. Up next, we're going to talk to one of the stars of the movie hit about Benghazi, 13 hours right after this. We're going to go back to a little bit more talk from the debate as we wrap up, put a bow on this debate with our correspondent, Barry Nussbaum. Barry, what has happened at the end of the debate that is notable?
The Cruz-Trump earlier dust-up, they're now buddies again. Cruz actually agreed with Trump and said it in a nice way with a big smile that he agreed with Trump's policy on trade with China, which drew the ire of the rest of the stage, who disagrees very strongly with import tariffs. I think we should mention, as you just alluded to, Gina, that Rand Paul didn't show up. It became a non-story. The whole second-tier kids' table debate is down polling around 1% to 2%. Nobody cares anyway. I think the big story going forward is who's dropping out and when. You cannot have 10 people running for the GOP nomination this late in the campaign. It hurts the rest of the candidates, and oh, by the way, it breaks down their media time, with the exception of one Donald J. Trump, that doesn't need a debate to be on television every day and doesn't need a bankroll, even though he's got a very sizable one. I think the Olympic bet now is who is gone first and when. I predict everybody at the kids' table is out, and probably the bottom 2 or 3 from the main stage, if they're not gone soon, will be gone after Iowa, because their funding will run away at that point.
Yeah, that's my thought, too. I think they'll wait till after Iowa. I think that you've got 2 Iowa winners there from before, from 2012 and 2008. You've got Mike Huckabee and you've got Rick Santorum. I don't think they're going anywhere. Carly Fiorina had her little moment, and I just think that she's hoping something will come along and happen for her again. So I don't think anybody will be gone till after Iowa, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I want to go now, though, because it was interesting, this little tit for tat. I'll take you as my VP. No, I'll take you as my VP. And this wasn't as friendly as it might sound. Ted also offered Donald the VP position. Watch.
And I'll tell you what, Donald, you very kindly just a moment ago offered me the VP slot. I'll tell you what, if this all works out, I'm happy to consider naming you as VP. And so if you happen to be right, you could get the top job at the end of the day.
No, I think if it doesn't... I like that. I like it. I'd consider it. But I think I'll go back to building buildings if it doesn't work out.
Turn. I thought that was one of the best comebacks ever. Ted Cruz saying, if it doesn't work out, like you're saying that it's not going to work out for me, then you'll be in the top slot because you'll be my VP. Can we work a deal here? I thought that was just comedic and well-timed and brilliant. What did you think, Barry? Very quickly, we're almost
I got to tell you, it was hysterical, and it's probably the negotiations that are really going on behind the scenes.
Don't you know?
Because Trump's going to want Cruz as his vice president.
Absolutely.
Because he wants
to
deliver
wrap it up there, Barry.
Texas.
Thanks so much for being with us, and you keep trending, America.
Try to